Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Leadership Lessons with Cheri, and I am excited for this week's episode. I have been thinking about this one for a few weeks, and it's definitely time as I'm working on a complete overhaul and rebrand of my business to give you just a small little piece with this. Really shifting who I'm servicing, what I'm doing within my business, even changing the name and the branding and everything. I want to move away from being more of a personal brand, just a coaching kind of business, to actually providing real services. Not that coaching is not real, I believe it's real, but services that actually have an impact on education. I think it's very, very, very much needed right now. We're going to go through quite another round of crisis here in the next year. We're already facing such a shortage with teachers and highly qualified employees. And now with funding the way it's going to be and the way people are looking at public ed compared to private and charters and vouchers and all of the things, I think we need to be out there, those of us who have knowledge and skills, experiences, and the capabilities to mentor and coach others to get them to stay in this fight. Because, like I said, it's going to be tough, and then teaching's tough anyway. So that's kind of where I'm at personally. Lots of work going on. I come home every day exhausted. I got up the other morning at 4:30 so I could get a workout in. I hadn't done that for a long time. And I think that's going to have to become my new norm if I want to get workouts in during the week, at least twice, because yeah, I still have to take care of myself. I'm going to be 54 in a couple months, and I can't let my health go to the wayside either. So much going on, but I'll do a whole episode as that all kind of comes together. But I wanted to talk to all of you out there this week, especially if you know people who are thinking about leadership. Right now, I think back to when I was a kid. My grandma was a leader in her company, but for the most part, I heard people say over and over and over, stick it to the boss. Not necessarily in those words, right? But that was the premise. Don't trust your leader. Don't trust your boss. The boss is out for themselves. They just want the bottom line. People who are running companies, they're not good people necessarily. Now, it wasn't from everybody in my family, but it was a common theme. And it almost made all of us, I'm the oldest grandchild, so everybody from me down, wonder, well, can you trust your boss? Should you trust your boss? Should you become a boss? What if you have those capabilities? Or at least it did for me. And as I grew, I knew I was going to be a teacher, and I got into the classroom and I loved it. I never thought I was going to leave out. But when somebody sparked that in me, and all of a sudden one day I decided, okay, yep, let's do this, then it was everything I put my mind to. And I wanted to be the best. I didn't want to just go into the leadership for the title. I didn't want to just go into it because somebody else thought I should. I wanted to go into it for my own reason, and that was to have a bigger impact than what I was having as a teacher. And it was scary. I remember taking my first job. Now, let me just tell you, I was set up for success. I really was. I had followed somebody who had been physically removed from the campus. So everything I did was going to look good, right? As long as I didn't break the law. And my boss, my supervisor, was my former principal who pushed me to go into these positions. So I already had a rapport with her. I already had trust with her, that kind of thing. And I knew she wouldn't let me fail. My friends had started moving into school leadership as well. So we had a great network of people. And I get along with people pretty well. I can talk to people pretty well. I'm a people person. So I knew that when I would go to conferences, or I would go to events, or I would go to things, I could talk about education all day long. And I could network with them, and I could make new people that could be thought partners with. I also learned quickly that, even though I didn't want to leave my district to take on my first leadership role, that I was capable of doing the hard thing. And it was scary going to a brand new district I hadn't taught in, and I was going in as an assistant principal. Were people going to like me? That was my concern. Now I know it's not necessarily about that, but when you're young, I was barely, gosh, I was 31 when I took on my first assistant principalship. So when you think about that, now maybe people go into leadership a little earlier, but back in the day, that was young. And I was worried about people liking me. And were they going to trust me and respect me, especially being younger than them? So there's all these things, right? But when I do look back, I also know I was fully prepared to do the thing. I was prepared to step into a role where I had to be a student again to get my master's and still be a teacher and still be a mom of a middle school child and still be a wife. I was prepared because I had experiences prior to stepping into the role where I was in charge of different things. I was prepared because I surrounded myself with people who were all doing it for the right reason, not for the money, not for the title, not for the glamour. It wasn't about that. We were in it for the right reason. And I was lucky because I stayed grounded in my work. The bottom line was improving the lives of children, putting kids first as an educator. Not me, not my staff, but the students. Sure, I took care of my people because I needed them to help me run the building, but they didn't come first. Kids came first, and they came first in every decision I made. And I always went back to my original philosophy as a teacher. If it's not good enough for my child, it's not good enough for anybody else's child. Now, some years have been better and some years have been tougher. And along the way, I didn't always have the greatest role models to follow or network with and that kind of thing. But as I was stepping into that role, those were the things that I was able to have at my disposal. And as I have conversations with people, they're feeling like they want to step up and they have it for the right reason on their heart, but they're fearful that they won't have the right support. I work in a system right now where you don't necessarily have to be certified. You don't necessarily have to have a master's degree to become a school leader. They're going from classroom teacher right into the school leader role without this kind of preparation, without this kind of support, without the knowledge and skills that they would learn through a preparation program. And y'all, that's scary. When you know it's on your heart to step into a higher level and do the good work, but you fear you don't have the skill set. That's a real thing. And it happens in education and outside of education as well. I know I was lucky. Of course, I seeked out the help, the support. I was also ambitious and hungry and wanted to be the best, but it was there for me. So as I talk this week on the leadership lessons, I'm talking to those of you who believe that you're ready for that next level position. We have some aspiring leaders out there that listen, but for those of you who are currently in a leadership role, you know aspiring leaders. This message is for you as well. Share out this week's episode because I'm about to get ready for a big launch. I am working on finalizing. I started this a while ago, but I took a break because I had so many things going on. I'm reigniting Leadership Lessons with Cheri, my 8-week course for aspiring leaders. Sometimes I do believe that we get people already in a leadership role who want to do leadership at the highest level. They want to become those level 5 leaders, and they're open to learning and growing and doing things different. And those are the people I love to work with. But I also know that sometimes we get into our roles as leaders, and this may be you, or you may know somebody like this, and you truly believe I've already learned everything I need to know. Now I just have to do the work. And they're not open to having that growth mindset. They're not open to doing leadership different. And that's where we're losing a lot of people. And so my commitment has been recently to not just support people who are already in the role, because they need it too, but to support people thinking about going into the role so that they're going into it for the right reason. I know I've shared this story before, but I literally sat in an interview with one of my employees who was looking to move up into our organization and asked her why she was wanting to do that, why she wanted to leave the classroom. And the response she told me made me go, no, you're not the right fit for this position. Because it wasn't about having a bigger impact on people, on children. It wasn't about because you wanted to make a difference for the organization. It was about her, and it was about her workload. And honestly, I remember saying to her afterward in a debrief, I want to tell you why I didn't hire you. If you think this role is going to be easier than what you're doing right now, you are sadly mistaken. Because when we move up, we get more money because the roles are more difficult. The workload is heavier. The responsibility is bigger. Not, it's going to be easier. I can promise you that. And even after sitting in the principal seat for 16 years, there was not a day in my life that was easy. I just got better at doing hard. And that's what you do when you have this continual support, this mentorship, and you have the right coaching and preparation for your role. So this week is a short episode, but I wanted to get that out there. It's not 100% ready yet. I'm doing a lot of work with rebranding and shifting and all of the things. But for those of you out there who know aspiring leaders, this course is the money. Not only will it get them the skills they need to step in the role, because even though they've gone and gotten a master's or whatever, there are other skills, we all know this, right? That we need to be effective. But it teaches them how to not just think with their head, but lead with their heart. And I also work very hard to help them prepare to secure those first positions. So it's going to be a good one. All right, y'all. When you know it's time to level up, it's time. Go with your gut, go with your heart, and get the right support you need. That's everything for this week. I'll see you right back here next week on Leadership Lessons with Cheri.